Hey guys, what's up? It's Greg Srisavasdi with CinemAddicts. After recording this episode 280, which is actually going to be on the feed a little bit later, this is sort of a last minute add-in for this week, the week of Friday, February 7th, 2025. You will see for this week for CinemAddicts, there will be an episode each day. Right now, it's Wednesday, February 5th. I am going to release this pretty soon. Thursday will be episode 280. And then on Friday, there will be Eric's interviews for the past week as well. The reason why everything is so bunched up together is I've decided after a year and a half of trying and failing to put my Find Your Film podcast, the stuff I did with Eric and Bruce, and I'm going to streamline that into CinemAddicts. What does that mean for you guys is my interviews will be streamlined into the CinemAddicts podcast feed. So if you are a subscriber of this feed, you'll get interviews that I do on a weekly basis. Most of them are film interviews. Sometimes you will get TV interviews as well. Also, you'll get more of the regular Eric Holmes interviews. I've been putting a lot of those interviews on our YouTube channel for CinemAddicts, but you will also get the audio interviews that Eric does on a weekly basis as well. I'm thinking of maybe one episode per week will be my interviews and another episode will be Eric's interviews. That seems sort of like an idea that's up in the air right now. I'm thinking, even as I'm speaking right now, that might be a good idea, but then there will be weeks when we might just mix it up. I'll do an interview, Eric will do an interview, and we'll just mash it together in one episode. Bottom line is, if you've been subscribing to our CinemAddicts podcast for the last several years, thank you. And in my opinion, the main heart of CinemAddicts is our once a week weekly movie review show where we focus on the movies coming out that given week. I would say about 95% of them, maybe even 98% of them, are indie driven projects. So a lot of these movies will be movies that are under the radar that you can use and watch as an option instead of the big ticket movies that are coming out on a given week or on the big streamers. Who knows? Maybe now we will be doing more movie content, but ultimately the heart and soul is that one episode per week. All that said is you will be hearing more from me each week because I have a lot of interviews to do. And then you'll also be hearing more of Eric's stuff as well. Okay. And who knows, Bruce Purkey, out of all three of us, he watches probably the most television and movies than me and Eric combined. I'm thinking possibly. Okay. So who knows, maybe you will receive a lot more reviews as well from Bruce, maybe even on the television end. What does this all mean? Tons of cinematic stuff. If you do not want to listen to the other episodes during the week and just want to listen to the review show, hats off to you. Thanks for listening to CinemAddicts. Again, I'm all about giving me, Eric, and Bruce, and of course, Anderson in his own way when he created the show almost 10 years ago. I think it's almost 10 years. We want to give you guys a lot of the movies that are coming out on a given week that might not be given that same spotlight as the big movies. That's our main operation, our main goal. But then all these other interviews, hopefully, that Eric and I do, maybe down the line, who knows, Bruce might be doing interviews, but all the extra reviews that Bruce does, that will hopefully give you guys some, like I always like to say, some added value. Okay? So that is just all that preamble to say this is a last minute thing. Wednesday night, I'm giving you 2 interviews this week. First one is with Renate Reinsve. Hold on. Is that how do you pronounce your name? Hold on 1 second. I'm going to check. Okay. So the first interview is with Renate Reinsve, and I've actually know how to pronounce her name now, Renate Reinsve, and that's my bad. I've played the beginning of the Criterion Closet video that she was in, I don't know, maybe several weeks ago. Renate Reinsve, you might know her from The Worst Person in the World, also from Presumed Innocent. There's another movie, I don't have IMDb right now. I think there's a movie she did called Handling the Undead, or not Bring Out the Dead, but it's Handling the Undead. But she's in a new movie called Armand, and I really love the movie. I give it 5 stars. And very quickly, me and Bruce review it on this week's CinemAddicts. For more context, you will please listen to our reviews for Armand. But very quickly, it's about a woman named Elizabeth. She's called into school one day after school, and she is accused by another couple. Okay. And I'm not going to really get into the full review of who the couple is, how they are connected to Elizabeth. Again, it's played by Renate. And Elizabeth, her son Armand, is accused of possibly sexually abusing or basically abusing another person in his class. And that person's supposed victim's parents are accusing Armand. Okay. And Elizabeth is wondering what's going on. So a lot of the movie deals with that interplay among the parents and Elizabeth and the school administrators. They're trying to get to the heart of the matter and wonder everyone's wondering what's going on. It is a very surreal, well acted drama. Again, for further context, you will listen to that review. The movie comes out February 7th. Okay, this week, Friday, February 7th, and then in wider markets, February 14th. If you are invested in Renate and have loved her work before, she gives wow, an amazing performance in this movie, and it's a show-stopping performance. I wish I saw Armand last year. She would have been one of my nominees for Best Actress because there is, and I mentioned this in the interview, there's a sequence in the film where Elizabeth is processing what the administrators are telling her, and it sounds so ludicrous to her that she is laughing for several minutes uncontrollably. And then that laughter, as she's processing what's actually happening, turns into something else. And it's a really showy and inspiring moment and memorable moment. And I referenced that with my interview with Renate at the beginning of the interview. I also referenced Andrei Tarkovsky and David Lynch. Those are two of her favorite filmmakers. And that is a reference to the Criterion Closet video that she did. And the first Criterion Blu-ray she picked out was Mirror, directed by Tarkovsky. So you're going to hear me asking questions about Tarkovsky and Mirror. And pretty much, although this interview with Renate is about Armand, there is a reference to Tarkovsky and Lynch that pretty much permeates throughout the entire 9+ minute interview with Reinsve. Okay, so hope you enjoy the interview. She's an A-list actress, so I'm glad I actually was able to just snag this interview. I'm so glad that she's promoting Armand. It's a great movie. Last time I saw on Rotten Tomatoes, it's 73% by critics. There will be divided opinions on this movie because it gets surreal, it's very interesting, but it can be very divisive. Okay, so I'm not going to tell you what Eric Holmes, my partner in crime, Eric Holmes thought about it, but it's not exactly as much as in love with Armand as I am, or as Bruce Purkey is over at the CinemAddicts. So again, hope you enjoy this interview with Renate. Tell us what you think of this movie. Basically tell us what you think of Armand. And then here is the interview. I will be back in a few moments to talk about my interview with Robert Rippberger. Hopefully this unedited me just babbling about. I'm not going to edit as much as I do during the normal movie week episode. So there's going to be a little bit more freewheeling. So apologize for the unscripted babblings before and intros before all of these really interesting talent interviews. And this is it's only 90 minutes with Renate, but it's a really good interview. Check it out. Tell me what you think, and I'll be back in a few. Hello. I apologize. I'm trying to get my settings right now. Hold on, my video.
Don't worry about it. This is a part of it all.
This is a part. So, okay. So don't be scared. That's my face. So, okay.
Hello.
Hello. Let me see. Let me try to record right now. Yeah. Oh, I think they're recording right now. So, okay. First off, from the Criterion Closet, you mentioned Tarkovsky and Lynch as two of your favorite filmmakers. And what's great, one of the many great things about them is they create cinema sequences that you will remember for all time, or maybe feel like it's the first time you've ever seen. To that point, that sequence, that 7-minute sequence, when you are laughing uncontrollably, but then you're also processing not just your emotions, but also Elizabeth is trying to figure out what's going on. Can you just talk about doing that scene, that physical and mental exhaustion, and then afterwards just realizing, going back to that, how memorable that sequence will be for so many people who will experience Elizabeth's journey?
It's a great question. It has so many compliments in it. Yeah, no, I really feel like actors that I've seen or filmmakers that I've seen that really push boundaries and, as you say, make something that is memorable because it touches you in a way that you can't escape it. It goes into your subconscious, or something that I feel both Tarkovsky and Lynch is really great at, and Isabelle Huppert, who I've been deeply influenced by. And I think Halfdan wrote this just in 2 sentences, that I was, or the character was going to laugh for 2 minutes and cry for 2 minutes. And it's an impossible task to get as an actress, but I think we did it. We shot that a whole day, and to get to that headspace, it demands a lot of analysis for getting that character there, and to have people believe that that's happening to the character, and also executing that is, of course, you have to kind of tip over and lose yourself and lose control a little bit to be able to do that, and that was a scary place to be. And doing emotional scenes is always exhausting, but I think this one was probably the most exhausting and hard, but also so proud and happy that me and Halfdan kind of collaborated into that moment and that scene, because it is very special.
You know, some people say never go into business with your friends or never collaborate with your friends.
Yeah.
He's a close friend. You're on the opposite side of the coin. What is the huge advantage? Is it just not that scene, but is it to get to share this life experience together, and actually maybe
Yeah.
that art is enhanced that way by that bond?
Yeah, I think the reason we are friends is because we had a very deep chemistry in art, and we had the same taste, and we had the same understanding of things that you can't really put into words. And we knew right away when we did this short movie eight years ago that we had to do something bigger together. So he started writing this role and the script, and I think just we've been very kind of steadily going through all the phases of this movie being what it got to be, and we get very excited by each other's minds and each other's perspectives and ideas. So it's just we're always kind of fueling each other in the process. So yeah, but it's definitely sometimes you have some conflicts, or you argue about a scene, and then you have to try to be professionals, but you're friends, so you're maybe arguing a little bit too loud or taking it too far. But we made it through. We're still really close, and we're still gonna do the next film he's writing together.
You know, one of the things about great art is it's not really completely completed until it's shared. And
Yes.
what has it been like sharing your art in this movie with other people, and they can come up to you and say, I go through that personal journey myself, or I've learned not to judge people. You never know what someone is going through. Why should you be the one to ruin their experience? What kind of dialogue have you gotten from people? It must be amazing for both of you.
I think what you say is very true, because after I started doing movies, it seems like three parts. First part is me sitting with the script, finding a way to be ready for set, and then the second part is being on set shooting the movie, and then the third part is actually meeting. First you meet the journalists, and then you meet the audience to start talking about it. And for me, it's really, really hard to put into words what we've done. I can't really completely see the movie because I am in it, so it's impossible to see. So I love the part where I start talking to journalists and audiences about their perspective, because it actually teaches me a lot more about what I did, because you can't have the outside eye while you work. So I guess some of my answers are what has resonated for me through something a journalist have said or an audience member have said. So it feels like you're kind of making the third part together in a way. So it's
After
yeah.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, no, no.
I was reading that maybe after shooting Armand, you took maybe 2 months off to decompress, and maybe that outside eye came in during those 2 months. What were those 2 months like? Do you delve deeper into your craft, into your art, or what I like to do after just doing a whole ton of interviews is just listen to jazz and not listen to words? Did you go the
Yeah.
other way and just stay in your residence and just relax and decompress?
Yeah, I think I've tried to talk about it in a complex way, but I think what comes across and headlines can make it a bit more dramatic than it sounds. But what I've also tried to say is that going into art, making movies, or being an actress, you get to discover some sides in yourself. And if you try to be really honest, and this was me trying to be really honest with someone in a hypervigilant state, someone being in the biggest crisis they have been in ever, and meeting, and also she also had all her bad sides come out. And I think it's a healthy process. It's a very good process to be able to do that and discover things in yourself in that way, but it's really, really, really hard. So it is a very interesting conversation because you say, like in a lot of articles, it's like you don't, or Lynch said, you don't have to suffer to be an artist, and I really think it's true. But sometimes you hit something in yourself that you didn't see coming, or you hit something in yourself. And I was surrounded by friends, so it was a good experience. And it's hard to talk about in a complex way, but I really think it's a good it's an important part of the process to try to find parts in yourself that you haven't discovered yet, subconscious parts. And that is also Tarkovsky and Lynch's kind of their way into their art. Lynch used his dreams and they make kind of their own worlds. And to do that, you might find something in yourself that you get shocked by or confused by or exhausted by. So
Thank you
it's
so much.
something, yeah.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
so much. One more quick question. You
Yes.
again, going back to Tarkovsky, Mirror, as you just mature and through the years, do you ever go back to that film? Because that movie has so many layers. Like Armand, it's a personal story that will
Mm.
continue to resonate. How do you connect to that film personally for you?
Yeah, it's so great because every time you see both Lynch and Tarkovsky, if you see it in 5 years or in 5 more years, you discover something new, and you see, of course, you see yourself. So I think I watch them a lot. Actually, I love those movies. They give me a lot of insight, and I get mirrored by things in myself.
Wow.
Yeah,
Thanks again so much for your time. And very quickly, what did you think? What do you think of that Armand poster? Because that's an amazing poster with all
yeah,
the
it's a great poster. Great
amazing.
poster. Yeah, it is.
Th-
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. Love the film.
Thank you so much. Thank
Pleasure.
you.
Okay, I'm back. Again, I really loved Armand. One of my big surprise this week was Renner. It is a movie, it's described as an AI thriller, and it hits theaters February 7th. I'm looking at the poster right now. Artificial Love, Fatal Design. It stars Frank Muniz, Violet Bean, Taylor Gray, and Marcia Gay Harden. It's directed by Robert Rippberger. And here is a plot summary. Quote, a computer genius, played by Frankie Muniz, invents an AI life coach to help him find love, but realizes too late he accidentally programmed his manipulative mother into the code. The mother, the voice is Marcia Gay Harden, which is awesome. So I asked Ripperger about having Marcia Gay Harden in his movie. That's a great get for this veteran filmmaker. And also Frankie Muniz, you might know him from Malcolm in the Middle. I'm a huge Clippers fan, and so is Muniz. So I am usually in the bag. Biasly, I'm pulling for Frankie Muniz to do good movies. Okay, thankfully, he's very convincing, and as this computer genius, he is pretty much he has a very not boring life, but a very habitual life. He is creating that AI and he's improving. He has software, and this AI might be worth millions, but for some reason, he doesn't want to go public with this AI program or this AI life coach. So, and that's a big part of the movie as well. But this computer genius, he just stays in his apartment until he falls in love or possibly lust with his next door neighbor, played by Violet Bean. And the rest of the movie deals with, does the woman next door, is she in love with him, or does she love him for his brain and the AI? What's going on? Is the AI, aka the life coach, also who has the voice and thoughts of the genius's mother? Will that AI lead to a horrible situation regarding his prospective relationship with the girl next door? Violet Bean, and I talk about this in the interview. She has a very A-list charisma and quality and talent about her. really pops off the screen. And Muniz is, again, like I said, he's very interesting as the guy who's trying to just break out of his shell and connect with somebody. It's part AI thriller. The word the words Hitchcock, Alfred Hitchcock is brought up several times during the interview, and it is a little bit of a Hitchcockian thriller. I really loved what Rippberger did with the budget he had to work with for Renner and the third act, at which I talk about. Not, I don't spoil it in the interview, but I'll get to that in a second. But I thought the third act was very well done as well, and it really just made the movie work for me. It's a movie that I wouldn't mind watching again. And yeah, so here's my interview with Robert Rippberger. Oh, also, what's very important is not very important. What's interesting is he is currently in the middle of building up a film studio called White Lightning Studios over in North Carolina. And it's amazing because I don't see many directors building their own studios. So we touch base on that. I asked him about building that studio and where that ambition comes from. It's a really good interview. Also, for our Patreon members, I will have spoilers this week for Renner, and it's going to be Robert Rippberger talking about the end of Renner. So again, our CinemAddicts Patreon is $5 a month. You get a bonus episode each month from me, Bruce, and Eric. We talk about a certain year in cinema, and then we review two movies from that year. That's our bonus episode every month. But then also, Patreon members get early access to our weekly episodes, and they're ad free. Also, along with that, you get, my mind's blanking, but oh, early access to spoilers. Hence, Renner will be available. The spoilers to Renner, which is specifically my discussion with Rippberger, will be available for our Patreon members, early access. And then I will release, if you're not part of the Patreon community, don't worry. If you can't afford the $5, don't want to support us, understandable. But if you support us, that's cool too. But if you don't support us, don't worry. The spoilers will be up maybe a week or two later on one of our two channels, which is either The Deepest Dream or our Cinematics YouTube channel. So subscribe to Deepest Dream and Cinematics if you want to support us over on Cinematics. That's a great way to help us. And yeah, that's it. Here is my interview with Robert Rippberger. Again, I really enjoyed this movie. Look, the poster is fine, but the way the poster looks, I thought it was going to be a cheap B movie that's forgettable, but it wasn't. It's actually a memorable experience. And looking at the poster right now, I'm fine with it because at first I didn't love the poster as much, but I like it now more. Okay, so because I understand a lot of things more, and it's just a really good movie. And yeah, I hope you guys give Renner a shot. It hits theaters February 7th. Just check on your local listings to see whether, oh, by the way, the Hitchcock stuff, it's sort of like a cross between, well, not a cross, well, yeah, it pays homage to movies like Psycho and Vertigo. All right, so think Psycho, Vertigo with an indie budget directed by Robert Rippberger and some really good performances. So that is Renner. All right. So if you see it in theaters, tell me what you think this week. After this weekend, hit us up. And if you don't, wait for it when it hits streaming, theaters, or on demand, etc. When it hits digital and on demand. All right. So here's my interview with Robert Rippberger for this week's Cinematics. All right. So I'm with Robert Rippberger, the filmmaker behind Renner, a movie that really caught me by surprise. Is that one of the reasons why you wanted to direct this movie? Because I feel it's a movie that I think will catch people unawares in a good way.
It's fun, huh? I mean, I've been such a huge Hitchcock fan, and I felt like Luke and Martin Medina, the writers, had captured something really special and unique and modern that that was Hitchcockian in a way. And that's why, yeah, I was very, very happy to sign on to direct the project. It keeps you guessing, but at the same time, as a director, there's like you have to be nuanced, and so that also I was up for the challenge to take audiences through, and yeah, pleased to hear you liked it and were entertained.
Personally, as a cinephile, I'm a sucker for movies that have an indie budget, but they make the most out of their budget and not complain about it, meaning the production design is on point. The shot composition makes the movie feel more immersive than the dollar sign projects. And sometimes you can have a big budget movie that doesn't have that imagination. You mentioned there's a IG photo of you and Alexander Payne, and you're talking about attention to detail. What kind of attention to detail do you need working with the budget you had for Renner, but still make it a visually immersive experience?
It's a great question, and I often look at sort of the distance between indie films and studio films as if you're playing street ball on a broken court against NBA players. and and you can't complain, and that's what it is. And studio films get a month of reshoots and testing for audiences, and you don't get any of that. So you better bring your A game, and that means detail. That means every little thing needs to be seen ahead of time if possible, needs to be tested. You need to be hiring the best people you have the utmost confidence in. And I've been 36, and they wrote recently I'm an industry veteran. I don't know about that, but I've made a number of films, and so I have an amazing team around me. That we've pulled together, and that then they bring this sort of A caliber game that allows us to really sort of break out of that lower budget mold and put something in front of audiences that is as compelling and as entertaining as a blockbuster film would be.
Obviously, you cast Frankie knowing that he would do the job, but working and collaborating with him, did he even surprise you with the places he took Renner? Because without giving too much away, there's a lot of emotional depth and arc that he has to traverse within the narrative.
I think we both were surprised at where the character went and how we got there and how it turned out on screen. And we were both exceptionally proud of the work that came out. Frankie at one point said, he's like, every single day I've left set, I've been proud of the work I've been doing, and it's rare. I've known that I've done good work, and that's really a testament of our process and getting there, but also his commitment. He is carrying this film the entire time. There's very few scenes. There's one, maybe two, where he's not in it. Otherwise, it is Frankie's show nonstop, and that's a lot of pressure. And he hit it out of the park, and I'm really excited for audiences to see this side of Frankie. We have seen him in Malcolm and so many other movies, and this is a depth and a range that is quite remarkable, and I think audiences will really appreciate.
I feel like I'm feeding you a question here, but this is actually what surprised me about catching me unawares. I'm looking at Renner and I'm thinking, okay, cool. It's going to be a genre-fied, maybe thriller, action, suspense elements about the dangers of AI. Well, actually not. It's about the dangers of staying to your routine and not coming out of your shell and trying to socialize with your next door neighbor, literally. Well, maybe not, but it's going back to Hitchcock. Well, maybe it's just a pure Hitchcockian thriller, or maybe it's an existential drama. And it's kind of all of those things. Is that why? Did you find those layers when you were reading Renner, or is that did that maturation evolve as the production went on?
For me, that we started on the film before AI had blown up into what it is now. In retrospect, it's like, oh, of course there would be an AI film, but this was, we filmed this 2 years ago. So, and it was written even before that, the first time I read the script, even before that. So there was no Chat GPT. I tried to immerse myself in this guy's sort of headspace. And so what I did is I downloaded these like companion apps where you could talk to this like bot, and it would, and sort of try to better understand like what this guy was experiencing and feeling, and sort of this deep loneliness that he was drawing on. But ultimately I realized that it's not a movie about technology, and we have to go to something that's very primordial in order to really make it universal. And this is really a movie about a man's relationship with his mother, which again makes it so Hitchcockian.
Without naming the movie, right?
Yeah. I mean, really, you could read all of his movies as that. But ultimately that's where it was to go. And it was, if there's a little sort of nuance to it, it was that it was about not sort of taking advice or sort of blindly following those outside of oneself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that I felt was really powerful and universal.
So you and I have thrown Hitchcock quite a bit within the last several minutes around it, but that's a big name. But I want to continue that thread with Violet Bean. I've seen her in stuff, but in your film, she just really feels like a star. I mean, we mentioned Hitchcock with Kim Novak and Eva Marie Saint, all these wonderful actresses, but Did you know
Yeah.
that when you're looking on your edit, were you surprised at how much she pops off as a just sort of an A-lister kind of presence? I feel as I don't know how you feel. You're the person who's actually shooting and cutting it. So
Yeah. I mean, she has a sort of inner fire within her that I knew was essential for this part. And I agree with you. She's total A-lister, and for me it was essential that you can be an A-lister, but in the scene that sort of fire isn't given space to run. And so it was essential that the relationship between the two, because they're holding really long scenes, just the two of them. It was essential that that performance is really, really ignited. And I think we together, the three of us found a tremendous way of navigating it on a tight schedule. And I think as Violet had her game here, Frankie's game was here, and then it was just kind of riveting to watch. And as the edit was coming together, it was, yeah, it was a lot. It was really, really tremendous to work with them and explore these characters and put it on its feet.
on life experience you were talking about, I was listening to a podcast where you said you grew up in Colorado and you were doing stories way back when.
Yeah.
Did the kid in you back then realize one day that as a industry veteran, you would be able to work with Marcia Gay Harden as a voice? How awesome is that? Just the cinephile in you as a kid, and now an industry veteran, just to know that you're collaborating with Marcia Gay Harden.
There's definitely a lot of moments of like, pinch yourself type thing. It's I think a lot of people want to be storytellers, and there's few of us that are lucky enough to be making films consistently and then to be working with these great, great people. Yeah, it's tremendous. And to be what's nice about it is you really realize that these are artists. These are artists who really deeply care about their work as much as I care about their work. And then the sort of human connection happens, and then the art happens when we take in the script. And she had some really fantastic ideas and ways of thinking about the character that didn't immediately come to mind. And that's why these people succeed and continue on, and in her case win Academy Awards. It's that sophistication as an artist, which I think is really emboldening to other people who want to be artists, that it's really the details that matter. It's really the nuance that matters. It's not sort of playing into what one would think, which is also, I guess, kind of what the plot of the movie is. But yeah, it's the real deal that really does prevail.
Robert, I guess it starts off with a pen and pad, supposedly, the cliche. It starts off with a story, and then maybe one becomes a director, maybe a producer, editor, becomes a film. But where does one have the dream to not just make a film, but to get some land out there and have a studio out, maybe possibly in North Carolina, and see that
Mm.
vision? Because making a film is from outside looking in, it's a grand vision in and of itself. But it seems to me that having a big facility like that is sort of like traveling to the Americas on the ocean. Where did that dream for you originate?
It all comes from the love of film and wanting to make movies and more movies and bigger movies and shortcut the process from green lighting one film to the next. And the market has been really challenging for a lot of people over the years. And so it pushes sort of consolidation and just dreaming bigger about things. And so it's really that. It's really to do art on a grander scale, to make more films. And so it doesn't seem like a sort of scary voyage, to the Americas. It seems just, well, this is what's needed to accomplish the goal, so let's do it.
Wow. And is it going to be, are you going to be out there for quite a while then? Because that's a really great project, and I'm excited to see all the films that we will be coming out from that studio.
Yeah, we are starting construction, and I've got folks that are managing it and working on it, and I'll be there when needed, and certainly when making films out there. We've got a new movie that we're doing out that way in May, June, and but yeah, otherwise, I'll be where I'm needed to get the film done, to recharge as an artist, and to get it back out there to give audiences really something that moves them, and that has a core to it, and that is as entertaining as possible.
Robert, final couple questions. I do this podcast called Find Your Film, and I ask filmmakers and actors
Mm.
to name maybe one of their all-time favorite films, either that or maybe a film that they feel is personally underrated that means a lot to them. Can you give our listeners a movie recommendation that is personal for you and what makes this specific film unique to your experience?
Yeah. There's a film called Black Cat, White Cat that I came across, and I tell people about it, and I often get people that have not seen it, and it is just so dynamic, so full of life, so much fun, really about this young couple, and directing wise, he's really doing something unique. Each scene is just so packed with life that it's impossible to not love, and it's really something that's been film I go back to and love to share with friends, and I think your audience would greatly enjoy.
Robert, thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed Renner.
Yeah, thank you, Greg. Really appreciate it.
And good luck on White Lightning Studios. Is that correct?
That's it. You got it.
Looking forward to a lot more films coming from down the pike.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Cheers.
Okay. Cheers. So very quickly, Renner and Armand. We will have reviews this week on our big cinematics episode 280. These are just the interviews. And next week, hopefully, I won't be babbling as much, and I will have I will edit these intros a lot better. Again, thank you so much for supporting us over at CinemAddicts. More importantly, support these films. And hopefully a couple of these or both of them you'll love. All right, guys, take care. Bye.